Okay, now let's see how we can use all of this setup code that we've been writing. So I'll just close all of this down, and we're going to start off in our iUser repository, and we're going to take a look at what we're doing for our getMembers async. Currently, we're returning an IEnumerable from this, but we want to change this now, and we're going to make use of our paged list class. And we need to pass this method the user params that we've just created. So we'll say user params and call it user params. I don't think we're allowed to just use params. I think that's a reserved word in C#, so we have to call it user params. And then we can head over to the implementation class. So we'll open up the user repository and we'll find where we've got the error. And that's because we need to provide the correct return type. So that's going to be a paged list of member DTO, and we're going to pass in as the parameters the user params and say user params inside here. So we're going to swap what we're doing here because we're executing this and we don't want to execute it here. We need to use our paged list class to do so. So instead of executing that, we're not going to execute it, nor are we going to return at this point either. We'll say var query equals and then context users, etc. And if we hover over this query, this is a type of iQueryable and it's called query. So below this, we will return await, and we're going to use our paged list class static method. So we're going to return a paged list of type member DTO. And then we can use the create async method that we created as a static method. And this method, if we hover over this takes the iQueryable that we just created, called query inside here, and that's the parameter that we called source, and it takes the page number, and it takes the page size. So we can get those values from our user params, of course. So inside here, we'll pass the query as the first parameter. The next parameter is going to be user params.page number, and then user params.page size. So those are our repository methods, and then we can go ahead and use this in our users controller. And inside here, where we've got our get users, we're going to need to take our user params as a parameter. So we'll say user params and user params, and then we can pass those params to our get members async method. And then we can use our extension method we created on the response. So we'll say response, and then we'll have access to our add pagination header, and we can pass in the users to that method. And our users is a type of page list member DTO, which is what our add pagination method is expecting to receive in its parameters. And then we return OK users, just as we did before. Now we've made a fair bunch of code changes, and I'm not expecting hot module reload to accommodate that, and it's asking me if I want to restart the app. So I'm going to say yes and wait for this to restart before testing this new functionality. So now that has restarted, let's head over to Postman, and inside section 13 we have a bunch of requests to test our pagination. So if I log in as Lisa and save the token, then I get the token back. That looks good. And then if I try and get the users with no query string, let's see what happens. And if I click send, then we get a response of a 415 unsupported media type. Well, let's take a look at why this has happened. So if we go back to VS Code and we take a look at our users controller, then we're passing an object here. And how are we going to receive these parameters? Do we want to pass them in the body of the HTTP request, or do we want to receive them in a query string? And it's pretty common practice to use a query string to pass up parameters of this kind, but because we've specified an object here, then our API controller by default is going to look in the body of the request. But we've got no intention of sending these in the body of the request. So this is one of those occasions where we need to give our API controller a hint and say, hey, go and take a look in the query string, and that's where you'll find what you're looking for. So we can give this a hint. And did hot module reload say it did its thing? Okay, I'll give it a chance. So we'll head back to Postman and let's give that another go. And this time we have success. So what difference did that make then? Well, I'm still getting my list of users, but what I should find is that I'm getting 10 of them because that is the default pagination. It could be that I've only got 10 users anyway at the moment, but I don't know for sure. But if I go and click on the headers, then we can find out, because we've got a pagination header in the response. And inside here, we've got the current page is 1. The items per page is 10, which matches the default page size that we've set. We've got the total items of 12, and that means total pages of 2. Now, if you're seeing anything different to that, then it's possibly because you've got the parameters mixed up where you've supplied them to the pagination header or the page list class. So do double check the ordering of how you've provided these if it's not looking exactly like this. Maybe you've got a different number of users though. So that worked, and we didn't send up a query string here because we don't have to. We've got default values for the user params. So if we do not supply one, then it's going to be page number 1 and it's going to be page size of 10. So let's take a look at another query that does specify these different page numbers and page sizes. And in this case, we've got a page number of 1 and a page size of 5 that's going up as a query string. And if we click on send, then what we should find here is that we get 5 users back. And we start at ID of 1. They should just be in ID order at this stage. So ID of 3, 4, and 5, and that's the end of the list. And if we take a look at the headers, then we can see current page 1, items per page 5, total items 12, total pages 3 this time. And if we go and take a look at page number 2, we can change it in the URL at the top, or we can use the params here, which does the same thing. And then I can click send, and what we should get here is a different batch of users. We could see it starting at 6, and that should go through to 10. And if I change the page number to 3 and click send, I should get the last 2 users, in my case, the 2 new users that I've created. And we can also reduce the page size. So if I reduce the page size to, let's say 2, and click send, all of that functionality should be working as well. So that's pagination, and that's on the server side. Next, we'll take a look at how we can set this up on the client side.